Look at those beautiful nasturtiums that we planted from seed. Look at that beautiful color. That one's like the peaches and cream one. Those are so pretty. Let me look at the other colors down here. You guys are seeing these. Look at another like peaches and cream one there somewhere. There he is. You guys are seeing this right as I'm walking out here from vacation. We were gone for a week or so. I've not been out here. And obviously we still have some turnips going on. These were the smaller ones that I had left after pulling a bunch of the bigger ones. Again, I've been giving these to people, looking at them. They are definitely filling out. If you remember, I did the grouping method with these, or cluster method. I can't remember exactly what people actually call it, but they are filling out again very healthily. Healthily, is that a word? And so I do need to, you know, pull those and do something with them, because the okra is getting up and the okra is looking really healthy. For some reason, those are doing really well over there. These are not. And I'm wondering if it's because this is shading it, even though I've been breaking limbs off. So we'll see. But obviously, the green beans are doing great. And I'm sorry for the lighting because it is like noon. But this is when I had a chance to come out here, and I figured it would be good to video. But yeah, look at those little rattlesnake beans. Obviously, we have some that are the size to be picked. Look at that size. This is all grown up. Mint, I am gonna have to cut this back because this is like way into the path. But yeah, all that, this is all overgrown. Obviously the excess tomato cages are here. The tomatoes haven't grown a whole lot, or at least the new ones that I planted. But look at these cucumbers. I'm gonna have to start lining them in. Now, if you remember, those are the ones I bought and put in, and these are the ones I bought and put in. These are the last of the silver slicers. So I am hoping to get some silver slicers off of those. You'll see the difference between the two. Oh, look at the little bumblebee. Oh, hi, bumblebee. You came to see me. But obviously, we're getting a lot of beans. I brought a basket out. I will probably pick some of those. We may take some of those to Granny's here in a little bit and cook some with lunch. But that is the volunteer one. And that one, it just goes to show you how the volunteer ones, if you can leave them, it's a positive thing to leave them, because they are so much more acclimated to your climate and to your situation, your dirt, your soil content. They are going to do better in a lot of situations. I mean, it's even like coming out of the cage. Look how much bigger that one is to any of these others, even the ones that are doing very well and growing healthy. Obviously I'm gonna need to put some more cages in, but they're not getting too big. We didn't have a whole lot of rain while we were on vacation, but that one is very obviously the most healthy of the group. My basil is all doing well. I really kind of was concerned because of the lack of rain. We had people watching our pets, but we hadn't really water the garden, because it's a lot. So I haven't been out here. The peas, we had some 90-degree weather while we were gone, and the peas do not like heat. You see all the pods. I gave my friend who was handling everything for me in the house free reign to pick what she needed from the garden. So some of these I may come and pick the pods and get the peas out of them, because I mean they are very full, but they are obviously dying off. Like, it'll be time to take this down off of this trellis and move on from that. Now the kale and the dill, like, oh my goodness, that dill is taller than me over there. This kale, obviously they're a little wilty right now because it is noon and it is nearly 90 degrees out here. So they are handling the heat very well, but I do think it's because I have that tree right there, and then you have this as well, and it is shading parts of it as the sun gets over. This is the sunniest part of the day that this part of the garden gets. Bean growing in the path, random tomato growing in the path. But let's walk around here. But yeah, the pea pods are so full. I'll need to come out and harvest these. But the chard, all of that is looking so good. The curly stuff, all this dill, I am probably going to pick some of this dill to dry. We've got a tomato plant. Our tomato plant's still doing well in there. But again, heat, peas do not like the heat, so we are going to deal with those. But all of the kale and everything, it's, oh, I got my head on this stupid, I'm gonna have to move this hook. But these are looking so healthy. They don't look chewed. I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm doing really good in the caterpillar department this year. Normally my kale and everything gets absolutely eaten up, but it's been going well. But yeah, so all that's mint and catnip, and I mean, you can see how much this has grown up. This is like hip high to me. Like, and that bed is in the ground. Like, there's like a 2x4 and that's it. It is in the ground, and that's hip high to me. I usually leave that wild to do whatever it's doing, mainly for the bees and the pollinators. And you can see all the little things, the little news bees that are buzzing around, bumblebees. They love the catnip. As a matter of fact, I love the catnip. It has a very distinctive smell, and mixing it with the mint, it is so great. I haven't even looked to see if we've got strawberries down in there, because there are strawberries in there. But it's around this time of year I have to start being careful when I dig in there, just because of, you know, there was a really large wasp nest in that one year. But I found that towards the end of the year whenever I was cleaning that out. But definitely want to be careful when you let it overgrow like this, because there is wildlife, there are insects, there are, you know, things living in that don't like you to disturb their homes. So, but I do try to let that be more wild. I pick what I need, I leave the rest, and I've been letting it do this for years. This is probably year 4 or 5 that I just let it go wild, and then every winter I clean it out and it starts all over again. Everything that's in there comes back every year. None of this is planted, so all of that has been there for quite some time. Ooh, how about got into like a big ant's nest there. But the chard and the kale and everything looks healthy, and I am going to try to start picking some of this stuff and trying to decide what I'm going to be doing with any of it. The beans on that side, they're growing, everything's doing good. This is the elephant dill, just so you know. Like, this is not normal dill. I got these from Baker Creek. They are the larger elephant ones. I mean the stems on those things are huge. Like, they are very massive plants, and you get a lot of dill off of them. So I will probably get some of that to dry to put up with stuff, but I'll leave it alone for that. I'll probably splice this in with some other videos later, but just wanted to give you an update as we are coming home from vacation. All the wildness of a runaway garden. So we're gonna clear all this mess out, see what we have. I always love doing root vegetables, because you never truly know like what you're getting. A lot of times, like, you can see a little bit on the tops and be like, oh, I kind of know how big that is, but really it's interesting to pull carrots and things. I was gonna try to show you, see how these leaves are chewed up. There's usually, just making it a little hard to see, there's a little one right there, like a little caterpillar. But I was looking, because normally, but I'm not really seeing that big of a problem with them this year. I normally get a ton of these like aphid things. I think that's a flea beetle right there. But these like aphid, like gray looking aphid things on them. But I guess this year I've just gotten lucky. I'm not seeing a whole lot of them. So we're just gonna go straight to pulling some of these things up. Obviously that one did not do anything. That one was a dud. I'm just gonna chuck that out to go in the compost. What about this one? Ooh, that's a pretty good size one, a little one. So we're gonna chuck that in our basket over here. And then what'll end up happening with these, once I get the ones I'm gonna actually work with out of the ground, actually put up, I'll take them over to my work table and oh, look at that bunching under there, and process them, because I have like an outdoor work table for just these circumstances, so that I don't bring and wash tons of dirt down the drain. Oh, that one's split. It's unusual. But yeah, we're gonna stick all of those in the basket. We're gonna pull up roots. And they're not all gonna be absolutely huge, because we're turning into warm weather here, and they don't like warm weather as much, but I'm gonna get them out of the garden, and I can at least process them and do something with them. Now this is one of my pepper plants here. There's one here, the dirt off its leaves. Ground cherry, trying to grow there. And so let's see what we got over here. Let's pull some of these. Ooh, that one's got a big stalk. That one's a pretty good size one. And there may be more than one basket of these. Because, oh my goodness, all these done in here. And I'm not going to keep you guys on here the whole time. I'm just going to be pulling these up and seeing what I got. And then cleaning the mess up. But just wanted to show you guys some of the turnips, since that's what I'm picking. I'm trying to get out of the way. That was a pretty good size one. Oh my goodness. Look at that one. That's a pretty good size one. It's a decent one. And then these, like where the purple star is where they were out of the ground. That one was mostly out of the ground. Sometimes the benching does that, but hey, it works. It saves you space and you get food out of it. So I'm gonna get to it, guys. I just thought I'd do this little clip so that when you see the next video and it's all gone, you'll know why. So here we go. I'll post a picture or put a picture in of the finished product and the amount of turnips we end up getting out of it. So guys, sorry for the blatant lie. It's early in the morning. I don't always get to choose when I get to video. But you see the basil plants, I've already trimmed that one back. Trim that one back some. Obviously I've got a basket full of basil now. Trim these. You notice that all these have been trimmed right here where you've got new growth coming. Like this one's been trimmed a couple. If you notice, I'm trying to keep them from flowering, because once they start doing this and start flowering, they get a little bitter and they're not as good, and your bush stops bushing out. So you don't want to let them do that. So that's why I'm collecting basil, and the plan is to do all the things with the basil. I'm gonna dry a bunch of this. I'm gonna get my dehydrator out and dry a bunch of it and get it in there, because we go through a lot of dried basil. I put dried basil in everything. I make what I call basil discs, which are basil in olive oil frozen in the freezer, and we'll use those to cook with. I do that quite a bit. It's one of my favorite things to make. Also make pesto and freeze it. I made a basil garlic salt last season. I always do tons with basil. That's why I said I planted a bunch, because that was the plan, was to do a bunch with basil. But I also wanted to show you the garden. Toby's gonna bring the hoe up here for me to clear out the weeds that are right there, because I just pulled all this up, and that'll get mulched up. But bean randomly growing in the path, nope. So if you'll notice, I've been picking the beans, but I've still got tons and tons that I need to pick. You see how they're hanging from the trellis. Like, this is a very common thing. Some of them get a little too tall for me, and then I have a hard time reaching them, but that's part of it. But look here, volunteer tomato plants. And so this one is a tomato of some kind. It has little tomatoes on it. Obviously the kale is still doing good. We're actually having a really cool season, and my husband's fixing to come by with the chainsaw. So if this cuts out, I may cut the video and then splice it. If it gets too loud, I'll listen to it later. But you see how thick the kale is? This is the elephant dill, and these things are massive. It's gone to seed. They're so pretty. Look at them, and then look at all the little pollinators. And these things, I'm standing in the garden. These things are as tall as me. Like, I am in the garden on a level with them. And I just love seeing all the little creatures that these kinds of things bring in. I mean, yeah, I do the garden for the food, but I'm sorry, I'm just fascinated by this stuff. And here he comes. So I'm gonna cut this off for a minute. So the chainsaw is off now. There's one of the first blooms of the cucumbers. And so obviously cucumbers are doing okay. I've been having to train them up through here. Tomatoes are that's the, God, I can't even talk this morning. I haven't had enough coffee. That is the volunteer one. That's just everywhere. I need to prune down in it. I've been pruning around the bottom. Still think that there's not enough air getting through that, but it's a little wild and I'm just leaving it. I've been watching for caterpillar damage. I've not really seen any. The other tomatoes are doing well. They're blooming, and I have a couple of little wee tomatoes. Like, I'm behind on my tomatoes, but I have little tiny tomatoes going. And there's some on that one over there as well. And so I'm trying to work on getting the suckers off, which if you're wondering what a sucker is, I'll show you in just a second. But this is the problem I'm running into, is I'm getting spots and stuff. Like, I've been trimming these lower leaves off that touch the ground. It's kind of keeps it from spreading as bad. But the suckers that you try to get rid of are these things that grow in between the branches. They're just extras. I'll just tear them out and throw them away, like throw them out in the yard or whatever. But in theory, if you let them get too big, you can cut them off and you could plant them. Like, you can stick them straight in the ground. And tomatoes are really voracious. Like, they will actually root if you do that, and you'll have a whole new tomato plant. I actually did that when some of my tomato plants last year didn't make it. I actually took some suckers off of the ones I had bought and transplanted them, and then had extra tomato plants. They were a little behind the other ones, but they produced, and they were free tomato plants. So that was a positive. Now, remember me saying something about hoping these were cucamelons? They are cucamelons. All of these are. I wish they were not in the path, obviously, because I keep stepping on them. I tried to pick one of these, like I dug one up and tried to put it in here. It did not transplant well. It died on me. See where I've been pruning. But if you look, these that are over here, those that I told you I thought were cucamelons, they are cucamelons. It's funny that they're growing more slowly than these. These, I mean, there's one right there. I mean, and one right there. Like, they're everywhere. Obviously, I need to weed my path again. But they're everywhere. And so I'm trying to get them to grow in the bed, because I do want them, but don't want them growing there, and I don't know what to do about that. So I've been trying to transplant them. We'll see what happens. But there's beans to be picked. Obviously, I have tons of kale. The beans over here are completely overrunning me. Some of them are a little overripe because I had not been out here to pick them. Just a lack of time. One of my kids was in a camp this week, and then I was working from home with the other one, and just busy summer lives. And I was looking for the beans. Here they are. All right, you notice the shape of those leaves, and then you see the shape in the darkness of these leaves. See them? These are noodle beans. These are self-seeded. I did not plant any noodle beans. I don't know that one is going anywhere and gonna do anything. It's kind of mixed in with all those, and I haven't seen any noodle beans yet, but I very well may end up with some noodle beans, because that's a Chinese noodle bean plant. So we'll see. But over here, the okra is getting big, doing well. Obviously, the turnips are long gone. Got a basil there, a basil here, and a basil here. Nasturtiums are doing well. Go ahead, bud. And my pepper plants are doing okay. I think that one over there may be a little shaded. Not sure if it's gonna do well. But look how much these have spread out. I have been cooking some of these big leaves for salads and sauteing them in with the greens. They've got kind of a peppery taste. They're really kind of good. But look at those flowers. And then look at all the little critters, you know. The ants, of course, because I mean, we always have problems with ants here, but all the other little pollinators and stuff that are coming and going, and they're so pretty. And they're doing so well because we're having a cooler than normal, like, summer. It's just now we're starting to have some 90-degree days, which we did have a week of 90-degree days. Remember those zinnias we planted? There's one fixing to bloom, and there's another one. The other ones, I mean, there's one, but they just weren't taking off. But we've had a couple of 90-degree days. Like we had a week, just look in there, of 90-degree days, like ironically when we were on vacation and in Florida, and they were not, it wasn't nearly that warm in Florida. It was warmer here than it was in Florida, but then it's cooled off again. It's going to cool off again next week. And so it's just interesting that, oh, look at that honeybee. And then the bumblebee. Let's see if I can zoom in. You see them? I'm always fascinated by the pollinators. This is catnip that they're on right now. You see that little honeybee down in there? And there's honeybees there. We have no idea where they are. Like, none of us are keeping bees now. All of us decided to back out of that. But I am seeing a lot more honeybees wild here than we've had in the past. So I'm gonna take you down, since I was showing you the pollinators. And of course, all this is doing well because it is still cool. I am starting to see some caterpillar damage on the ragged leaf kale, but this kale is doing really well. I mean, I'm not seeing holes or anything in these. But the ragged leaf kale, like, I don't know if you can see, but if I zoom in, you can see holes and stuff starting in those. Like, where I'm seeing caterpillars on those. I'm having to soak them a lot before we eat them. This is a mess, so I've got to clean up and get it tidy. And then I've got all these volunteer tomato plants that I may just run up this wall to have extra tomatoes. But let's walk down to some of the sunflowers that have bloomed. The big garden down here, that's, my husband was working down here because we had 5 peach trees down here. And if you remember in previous videos, I was talking about how they had this fungus and we just couldn't seem to get rid of it. We had sprayed it. We had took advice of people who keep peach trees, but apparently peach trees in our area is just really hard to get them to grow. And so it just wasn't going to work. And we had a really hard cold snap around Christmas and it killed several of our peach trees. Well, the fungus was killing the rest of them. And we just decided to take them down. And that's what this is. So, yeah. Oh, one of them? Oh, one of the tomato plants? Oh no, he's got some tomato plants down here too. But the main thing I'm down here for is the sunflowers. So look here. This is our second line of sunflowers. Those are watermelons there. And my husband being crazy in the background. I don't know if you can see him because of the sun. But we have, these are all volunteers. All of these big ones we did not plant. These are all ones that came back from our sunflowers last year. And I'm so just absolutely thrilled with them and the colors and just all of it. Ooh, I've got a red one over there blooming. Okay. Ooh. Oh, look at this one. Look at the colors in those. I hope that the colors are really showing the way that they are here. I mean, that one's like an autumn bloom. That one was one that looked like originally came from Baker Creek. You see that one? That one's beautiful. But these are like second and third generations. These are ones that we, like I said, we've had a couple that have got knocked over. Yeah, it looks like ants, which is weird. I don't know what's going on with that. But the ants are pollinating them some and eating on them. But they're so beautiful. And so, oh, okay. Yeah, see, ants' nests. But you see these with the purple stems? These are the ones that tend to have the colors. But all these multi-blooms, you see all the multi-blooms on them? I love this. And I mean, I'm out here and I'm only like here on this, and then you have all of that up there. Like, they're so much taller than me. It's like standing in a little sunflower forest.
All right, let's do this. Put it in perspective. I'm 5'11", so that sunflower is probably over 7 foot.
Yeah, that one's probably close to 8 too. I mean, they're, I love them. I love them. Oh, look at the bumblebee bee. These are some of my favorite videos of the bumblebees and the sunflowers. just some of my favorite things to come down here. Now these are all different squashes. This is, okay, the Gary Daly squash. All of the jack-o'-lantern peppers. These are the blue ones, yeah, like the blue pumpkin green. Squash.
They're green like that pumpkin tree.
Yeah. Cool. And so, but they're supposed to be as close as we could get to the Crown Prince that they have in England. I got it off of like another YouTube video of one where they eat them and they're really tasty. But those are like jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, like the big pumpkins for the kids. So yeah, weeding has not been a main concern right now, but this is our second line of sunflowers. When these start dying off, we'll have this round coming in, and I'm excited. And then the watermelons will kind of scurry all up underneath them. So it's kind of where we are, and I'm thrilled with it. Oh my goodness, just look at that. Have a good day, guys.